Hello again. It's Jim Grant welcoming you to another episode of Forum for a Better Understanding. It has been such a privilege and a joy to have this program for the last 4.5 years, in which we've had so many guests share with us around so many important topics. Now, the one that we talked about last week was so interesting that we had the fellas stay in the studio and decide to talk again about the topic. As you may remember, we were talking about President Obama's speech in Cairo and how he was speaking to the Muslim world about 7 important principles that needed to be acted upon in regard to the United States and the Islamic world. Now, the second point is the one we want to dig into today. It's the Palestinian, Israeli, and United States dynamic over what can there be to a resolution on this issue. How is it that the Palestinians and the Israelis can come to some sort of common ground? On that point, I'd like our guests to reintroduce themselves, tell you why they're here today, and also to set you up for what will be, I hope, a continuation of a very, very interesting conversation. Jay, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you find most interesting about this conversation.
Oh, the conversation is endlessly fascinating to me because I believe the president's speech played fast and loose with the truth and created a situation that will make it more difficult, not less, for the Israelis and the Palestinians to come to the table and achieve what needs to be achieved, which is a long-lasting, non-hostile peace. As far as my own background, I'm a Reformed Jew, a member of Temple Beth Israel, and a freethinker, a retired broadcaster, and currently a substitute teacher in the Fresno Unified School District.
So glad to have you back.
My
Reza, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your own Shia faith.
My own Shia faith. Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon all of you. It's great to be back and to discuss this wonderful topic. My own Shia faith, I'm a Shia Muslim. We represent the minority of Islam on the whole. It's considered a non-orthodox, although the Shia would consider it to be the orthodoxy of Islam. The long-lasting peace necessary for the world to be happy, not just Jews, Muslims, Palestinians, and Israelis, is a goal that all people share. And I'm happy to be part of a panel which discusses ways that maybe, those who aren't living there can dream of this peace and maybe work together for some peace here in America. Anyway.
Now, the piece we're going to show you right now is from Religion and Ethics 4 weeks ago. This is a program that we are so proud to air on Channel 49 each week, and I hope you find out when it's on and join us for the airings of this program. The segment we're going to see today talks about an effort of Israelis and Palestinians who share the same problem, the loss of a loved one, and how this grief brings them to some sort of a hard-fought but beautifully held reconciliation. Why don't we watch this clip and then let our panelists help us understand what it could mean for us here in the Valley.
It's a common observation that one of the most important paths to peace between enemies is to learn to see others not as demonized stereotypes, but as unique human beings. When she was in the Middle East last month, Kim Lawton learned about the Parent Circle Families Forum, Israeli Jews and Palestinian Muslims who have lost loved ones in their long conflict, but have learned to replace hate with reconciliation, even friendship. Here is Kim's special report.
Since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, Palestinian refugee camps in the West Bank have been hotbeds of unrest and often scenes of angry confrontation between displaced Palestinians and Israeli soldiers. Because of the continuing military and political conflict, few Israeli civilians ever venture in. But don't tell that to Rami El-Hanan. On this day, he and his wife Nurit have come to the Dheisheh refugee camp near Bethlehem to visit their friend Mazen Faraj. It's an unexpected friendship. Both have lost family members in the conflict, yet their grief has brought them together.
Today, it's our responsibility for our children and for our families to build something new.
We put a crack in this wall of hatred and fear that divide these two nations. And we show another way, we show another possibility, we show the ability to listen to each other's pain, which is essential if you want to get to any kind of reconciliation.
And this was the first room for our house.
Faraj has lived in Dheisheh his entire life. During the early part of his childhood, 15 people in his family lived in this one crowded room.
This is the place he's always talking about, that you don't need someone to hate you, to teach you how to hate when you grow up in a room like this.
In April of 2002, there was a violent confrontation between Israeli soldiers and Palestinian fighters outside Bethlehem's Church of the Nativity, the site where Christian tradition holds that Jesus was born. Palestinian fighters holed up in the church, and Israeli soldiers laid siege. During a lull in the fighting, Faraj's 62-year-old father went out to Jerusalem to get groceries. He was shot and killed by Israeli soldiers.
He get killed in April 2002 when we was coming back from Jerusalem to Bethlehem. The Israeli soldiers, they started shooting him, and without any reason. No one can kill his soul. They succeeded to kill his body, but without his soul. His soul still around us and give us like the power every day, how to keep going in our lives.
But there is great pain on the Israeli side as well. El-Hanan had a 14-year-old daughter, Smadar. Of 4 children, she was the only daughter, and the family called her the princess. On September 4th, 1997, the first day of school, Smadar went to a popular shopping area in Jerusalem.
She went down the street with her girlfriends to buy new books for the new year. 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up, killing 5 people that day, including 3 little girls. One of them was my 14 years old Smadar.
El-Hanan says he was overwhelmed by anger and despair.
It took me almost a year to understand who I am, to try to recover, and to understand that I have to choose a way for myself and translate these feelings of anger and despair into something constructive and create some hope out of it. And I joined the parent circle, and I found a meaning for my life.
The Parent Circle Families Forum was launched in 1995 as a way to bring bereaved Israelis and Palestinians together. The group now has several hundred participants who've lost immediate family members because of the violence in this region. Organizers believe it's the only project of its kind in an area where conflict is still ongoing. The nonprofit group sponsors face-to-face dialogue meetings for bereaved family members and public lectures about reconciliation.
The minute I saw in that meeting the first bereaved Palestinian families as human beings, I was completely shocked. It was the first time ever in my life that I met Palestinians as human beings after so many years of demonizing each other. So this was the turning point.
Faraj, who was dealing with his own feelings of anger and revenge, went to one Parent Circle meeting where El-Hanan spoke.
And it was this man talking about his suffering and his pain too. But I told him, what you know about suffering and pain? You just live in Jerusalem, you are Israel, you are the occupier, you are everything. And then he started to talk about his daughter. And then I found out that, wow, it's the same pain.
The 2 men became close friends. El-Hanan was drawn by Faraj's humor.
He's the only guy in the world that makes me laugh.
Faraj couldn't believe that El-Hanan was willing to visit him in the refugee camp. They built a deep mutual respect.
He's just a human being, and you can deal with him in an easy way, and you can build a discussion with him with easy way, and you can build the fight also in easy way too. But the most important things that he respects the other.
What he's doing needs a lot of guts, and his ability to face the world, tell his truth after all the things that he's been through. I think it's admirable, and I really respect him for it.
Faraz and El-Hanan started doing joint lectures for the Parents Circle.
We use this enormous respect that the two societies have for people who paid the highest price possible to convey this message, to convey the message of dialogue, of reconciliation, of peace.
El-Hanan and Faraz have given more than 1,000 joint lectures in Palestinian and Israeli schools. They say most of the kids have no idea that Palestinians and Israelis can be friends.
If there is only one kid at the end of the class who nods his head with acceptance to this message, we saved one drop of blood. According to Judaism, this is the whole world.
The Parents Circle is non-sectarian, but it is supported by several Muslim, Christian, and Jewish groups. In 2008, Catholic Relief Services brought Faraz and El-Hanan on a speaking tour across the United States.
They are giving a message of hope in the midst of hopelessness in the Holy Land. So we thought that this would be a strong message to bring to our U.S. Catholic audiences.
For their part, El-Hanan and Faraz try to keep the focus on relationship, not religion.
It's the important things that we don't want to make this conflict like a religion conflict.
Their work isn't always easy. Both men have received sometimes strong criticism from within their respective communities.
People tell me that I'm a traitor, but I think more people are impressed by my ability to translate the pain into hope.
I really believe in what I'm doing, and but not all the people they really accept that. But anyway, if you believe in something, you have to continue.
Parents Circle supporters hope these relationships can be a model for others, which they believe will help further the political peace process.
By building trust with each other, they become more and more ready to trust the other side, to compromise, and to tell their leaders that they are ready, that they can move ahead, they can compromise, and they can sign the peace agreements.
Faraz and El-Hanan agree.
We have a different culture and different religion and different also conditions on the ground too. So how we can find a way, this is the problem. It's not about, that's it, I found the solution for the conflict. No, but the first step, we have to know each other.
And devote my life to go everywhere possible to tell the very simple truth that we are not doomed. It's not a destiny to keep on killing each other. And we can stop it by talking to one another. That simple.
Simple in theory, much more elusive to work out. But they hope their relationship proves it is possible. I'm Kim Lawton in the West Bank.
KNXT TV is proud to say thank you to all its viewers who have given their support for over 25 years. And only through your support is KNXT able to provide spiritual and informative programming. Please remember KNXT in your long-term support through wills, bequests, trust, and plan giving. Your gift is important to the future of Catholic television. Help preserve the strength of KNXT's message based on the teachings of Christ. Keep KNXT in your future plans.
Welcome back to the second part of our discussion around parent circles. And I wonder if our panel could tell us, beginning with Jay and then Reza, your initial reaction or just initial response to this type of initiative that they're doing in Israel-Palestine.
I put myself momentarily in the shoes of Faraz and Al-Hanan, and I think to myself, what a horrible thing. Is there anything on earth that could be more horrible to experience than losing a child? Whatever these two men do, whatever their families do, I could not blame them, I could not criticize them, I could not stand in judgment of them. I wish them well, I grieve for them. There just isn't anything more awful than raising a child, whether it be for 6 months or 14 years, and then having it killed, or even dying of natural causes. As far as the larger picture is concerned, I don't honestly think there is much hope in here. The situation is not parallel. Israel builds bomb shelters for their children and their families. Every school has a bomb shelter. They are drilled in how to get their children to safety. On the other side of the coin, Hamas and Hezbollah have a long history of firing rockets from schools, orphanages, hospitals, community centers. There isn't any equivalence here. It's most unfortunate. I wish these people and their organization all the best. But whether it's going to make much difference in light of the fact that, in my understanding, any moderate Palestinian Arab who comes forward and achieves any widespread notability is assassinated or imprisoned. I don't think that's going to go too far.
Reza, what's your initial response to the clip?
Also, trying to understand the loss that these two men felt, one from a father and one from a child. You and I sitting here, we don't feel that. And our heart goes out to them. On the other hand, I do believe that these grassroots organizations can make a difference, and they're not the only one. There's a YMCA youth organization in Israel that has programs in Arabic and Hebrew, and brings Muslims and Arabs together in classrooms and teaches them about common threads and ways to get along with each other. There's also the Israeli Committee Against Home Destruction, which anybody watching should go to their website, icahd.org. And this is an Israeli grassroots organization which is against the destruction and confiscation of homes. And all these grassroots movements, the Parents Circle, the YMCA, the ICAHD, and so many others that exist, they are the most powerful tool to make a change. The powers that be in Israel, the powers that be in Palestine, Hamas, they can't see any real change. They can take out a few leaders here and there. They can bomb a school. As a matter of fact, they do bomb schools. Israel has attacked schools in Palestine. But they're the only loss that anybody's going to see, or the loss that these two gentlemen saw. They're going to see kids, adults, men, women, and children being taken out of this world, and no change will come about. But grassroots organizations, things that change the minds of people, things that get people like Jay and Reza to sit at the same table and discuss organizations. So those things can make real change. It might take a long time. It might take generations. But it's those kind of organizations that made change for blacks in America. It's those kind of organizations that made change for the indigenous in Mexico. It's those kinds of organizations that made change throughout the world. Military conflict, oppression, oppressed, fighting, terrorism, they don't really make any change. They might make a few people happy and many people sad, but in the end, they're not going to change anything in the world. And the only thing that can make a change are organizations like that.
May I inject an old Jewish phrase in response to what you said, Reza? From your lips to God's ears.
Yep. Are you meaning, Jay, that despite all the goodwill of people like Faraj and Al-Hanan, that it's such an uphill battle that they're waging, a nonviolent battle, that there is no way there's traction there? Or are you willing to see the point that Reza raises, that not only is that one group able to do something, but that there's other initiatives that are nonviolent, that are an alternative to what's going on? Or do you see there's no alternative? I mean, this is a destiny that we're destined to endure. Al-Hanan at the end says, we are not destined to keep killing each other. Do you see that he's right, or is he wrong? Is Al-Hanan wrong or right?
In the very long run, he's right. But returning to the president's speech, one of the tenets of the Oslo agreements was that the Palestinian leadership should stop inciting hatred toward Israelis. They should stop it. They should cease forthwith. When Obama gave his version, he said they should make progress toward the cessation of sowing hatred. Now, I know people on both sides who hate the other side, often with good reason, but hatred is, in the long run, a sterile emotion. It gets people killed. It blocks progress. Nonetheless, if your child has been killed, there's one Al-Hanan in 1,000,000 or in 1,000, whatever numbers you care to use, that can stand up and say, let's make friends with the source of their death. I don't see that being practical in the short run as long as the leadership is dedicated to annihilating Israel, and they are. And Obama's speech softened many of the positions that previous presidents have taken, that previous agreements have laid out. And the idea of inciting hatred toward the Israelis was one of the most noticeable.
Reza.
I agree. I think Arab leadership needs to stop inciting hatred towards Israelis. And, there's something when you hate somebody or you desecrate somebody's symbology, religion, the only thing that you get out of that is them desecrating your own. Originally I pulled up a couple statements because Jay had said something last week about in madrasas around the world, Muslims are being taught that Jews were pigs or dogs. First off, I wasn't able to find much about that except from non-Muslim sources, and all those madrasas that did teach that would come out of like a Wahhabi school of thought. Hopefully our listeners know what Wahhabi Islam is. It's an extreme branch of Islam that is kind of shunned by the rest of Muslims, be it that they are so extreme that they would seek heaven in killing anybody that is not of them, especially Shia. He brought up that I'm a Shia, so killing me would be their ultimate goal in life. I wanted to say I found two rabbi, and they're very easy to find, two rabbi statements, and then I'm going to say the reason I quoted them. I didn't quote them to go against, but there was one Rabbi David Betzri from Jerusalem who said, "The nation of Israel is pure, and the Arabs are a nation of donkeys. They are evil disaster, evil devils, and nasty affliction. Arabs are donkeys and beasts. They only want to take our girls. They are endowed with true filthiness. There is pure and there is impure, and they are impure." And another rabbi from Jerusalem, Yaakov Paran, said, "There 1 million Arabs are not worth a Jewish fingernail." And my reason for quoting this is to show that while there is hatred in extremists of all groups, us sitting at this table, all of your viewers, and hopefully the rest of the civilized world can see that the Muslims are like closer to me than they are like Wahhabis, and the Jews are closer to Jay than they are like these two extremists. I don't know what branch of Judaism they come from, but I would take it to say that any Jewish person I've ever met in my life would not agree with what is being said by these two men.
Bigotry knows no religion.
Bigotry knows no religion, and that's an unfortunate thing. Something about tolerance. Somebody told me something once. Unfortunately, people are always told, learn tolerance, learn to tolerate one another. And this person told me, Reza, you're not allowed to tolerate somebody according to Islam, because if you tolerate somebody, it means you're just able to take them. You're not happy with them, but you'll take them. Islam teaches you to embrace and love them. So, I think those two men in our clip, they embraced one another. They didn't just tolerate one another. The Arab man, I forgot his name. Faraj. He said that our religion is different, our history is different, and our plight in this world is different of some sort. But in the end, there's the similarity of just our creation is the same. And in our creation, Imam Ali, a religious leader for Shia Muslims, said, Everybody is your brother. He's your brother in faith, or he's your equal in creation. So if somebody can step back and say, okay, you might not share my faith, you might not share my history, you might not share my political goals, but in the end, we're all created for the same reason, to make this world better and to glorify God, then at least the bloodshed can stop and we can move towards a lasting peace.
Jay?
Nice work if you can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
And you can get it if you try, as the rest of the song goes.
yes, but the leadership of the Palestinian territories has not yet recognized Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. There has been no progress. And in Obama's speech, which is what we're talking about, it seems Israel was presented with an immediate task: freeze all settlement, all population growth in the settlement, even to the extent of no accommodation for children born. And what did he tell the Palestinian Arabs they have to do? Ease up a little bit, make some progress. We're not going to get anywhere like that.
We are not going to be able to finish this conversation, even though we gave it 2 weeks, which is so little. But I do want to thank Jay and Reza for coming back to look at something from the inverse side almost. We saw something in this second program that was so inspiring that it almost made one wonder, is this Disneyland or was this reality? Was this the Middle East? Do you mean that's these two people who actually only in recent moments could see each other as human beings, and now that they've given 1,000 talks together, yeah, it's possible. I found this the most enlightening segment that I've seen in a long time, for making me convinced that despite the leadership of governments and despite the radical policies of violent groups, the people can prevail. Let's pray for that and work for that.